it's time for Viking Mail Call, a weekly show where you, the fans, get to ask the questions on your mind and have them answered by former Minnesota Vikings linebacker and coach, Pete Bercich. And now your host, Tom Moore.
Welcome, everyone, to a Packer Week edition of Vikings Mail Call. I'm Tom Moore from VikeFans.com, and I'm joined by my co-host, former NFL linebacker and now game day radio color analyst for the Minnesota Vikings, Pete Bercich. I got to tell you, Pete, we send you to the West Coast, and the Vikings dominate the Raiders to bump their win streak to 5. And with a record of 7-2, Minnesota now holds sole possession of first place in the NFC North. You've seen them up and close all season long. What's the main reason for this recent success they're having?
Well, they're winning on the road, that's for sure. I think Oakland helped that we didn't turn the ball over. We had 12 straight games where we were at least giving away, one possession, which is why it was a little lopsided. Cordero Patterson showed a pulse and brought a kickoff back for a touchdown, which was great. But they're playing as a team. I mean, this is offense and defense and special teams. I mean, outside of Adrian Peterson, what other names are really standing out? It's interesting. Now you've got Linval Joseph is the NFC Player of the Week on defense one week, and then Terrence Newman is the next week. And it's a team effort. They're a smart team, disciplined team, and they got to keep riding that wave. And it's an interesting situation where you play Green Bay. If you lose, you have identical records, but they have the tiebreaker, so you're technically in second. But if you win, you're technically up 3 games, and because you're up 2 games and then the tiebreaker. So these kinds of opportunities don't come by a lot. It's been since 2009 that we've even been close to a situation like this. But most of these guys were not playing in 2009. So we can remember it as fans, but the players, they just move on.
Well, no doubt. And I got to tell you, obviously it's Packer Week, and we got a real treat for the fans. We got a former teammate of yours who's joining us tonight, and he selected, Pete, second overall by the Dallas Cowboys in 1991. And on his way in the NFL, he recorded 430 tackles, and he not only played in 4 NFC championship games, but was part of teams that won 3 Super Bowl titles. Most importantly, I think for Viking fans, his teams beat Green Bay 10 out of 12 times. Pete, he's a great friend of yours. He's a former Minnesota teammate. Can you tell the fans who's joining us tonight?
Yeah, we're lucky enough to have with us probably my favorite teammate of all time, a guy that I love, who I still keep in touch with, probably the best linebacker that I've ever played with or against, and that's Jeff Brady. I mean, Dixon Edwards. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I figured it was turning into a roast pretty soon.
Oh, even though he went to Michigan State, he's an okay guy. But Dixon, how are you, man?
I am doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing well up here in nice cold Minnesota. But
how is the weather up there?
Oh, it's 28, but it's not snowing. It's snowing in Iowa and Chicago, but not here. Yeah. So we're all right. We're okay.
Yes.
How about you?
67 here in Dallas.
Ooh, a little chilly.
Yeah, I mean, you can still do a convertible. Just have to cut the heat on.
And how many convertibles do you own now?
Just 3. I had to downsize after the NFL, so.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, Pete, when you came to town in Dallas, he didn't take any one of the 3 convertibles. I think he did a rental car in the bottom line to take you somewhere.
Yeah, he does that.
Dude, that's my luxurious Ford Taurus. I love the new Ford Taurus. I do. I'm telling you, it's the best car I've ever had.
That's because of the Microsoft Link, right?
Yeah, if you got to say the Microsoft, but yeah, the Ford Sync is amazing. It will make me want to buy my next car just so that I can maintain the use of the Ford Sync.
I got to tell you, though, guys, what I got to take you is I got to take you away from the cars. I got to take you back onto the football field. And I'm actually going to ask you, obviously, both played for the Vikings. And, fans take this rivalry between the 2 teams really seriously. But what I always wanted to know is, do the players and the coaches feel the same type of burning desire to beat a rival like the Packers? I mean, what does it really feel as far as differently for a player and a coach during Packer Week?
For us, it was any team that we played in the division. And Detroit back then was a little different because they had a guy named Barry Sanders, who you always had to respect and play hard against, or else he could hand it to you very quickly. But all the division rivals were taken the same. I think the personal dislike of the Packers comes from years of playing against them, coaching against them, and just the breaks that they get and the things that happen that you can't make up. Chris Walsh taking a knee and them not calling it, just all kinds of different things that to me make me dislike that team. I mean, I grew up in Chicago, so I grew up a Bears fan. I come up here, and the only thing to have in common is our hatred for the Packers, and so I've been able just to roll with it and keep fanning the flames.
Yeah. Well, as far as me and the Packers, I like the competition. They always played hard. No matter where they were, they always played hard. My favorite quarterback of all times is Brett Favre. I liked playing against Brett Favre because he was a dog. He would throw an interception, I think, so he can potentially tackle a guy. That's the kind of quarterback I like. You know what I'm saying? So what do you have? So say imagine the team had a really, really good corner, right? So Brett Favre is throwing the ball so he can just get a kill shot on him and take him out the game. Then from there on, he's going to be easy for him, right? So I always respected Green Bay. It seemed like they were always in the way of someone or your ability to go to a championship. They're always in the way. With a lot of other teams that were in our division were not, on that caliber. So
right.
Yeah. But and then always playing against Barry Sanders, it was a challenge. But the thing is that and I tried to explain to back then, Jack Del Rio in Dallas taught us how to beat Barry Sanders, and it was it always held true. And the thing is that you had to always attack him. You could never ever stop your feet. If you ever stopped your feet, he's going to juke you up out of them. So and what? Yep. So and it's amazing. Jack Del Rio would sit down and would just analyze film more than a daggone coach. I've never seen a player watch more film than Jack Del Rio. And I don't know, if he was compensating for something, but but he came in there and he analyzed Barry Sanders, said you have to take away one of his directions so that the other guys can go. So that week we had no missed tackles, or they weren't recording missed tackles because we were playing as long as we followed Barry Sanders' philosophy. Jack Del Rio's philosophy on Barry Sanders.
Now, Dixon, I have one quick question for you. When you were in Dallas, obviously Philadelphia was a huge rivalry, the Giants. Was there anything like the Green Bay-Minnesota rivalry in the NFC East?
Yeah, well, the biggest one was the Cowboys and Indians. The Redskins. Oh, my goodness, dude. To this day, there are three teams that I hate. I hate Michigan, Notre Dame.
I agree. Okay. We'll go by that one.
Michigan, Notre Dame, and the Redskins. To this day, I hate them. I was telling somebody one day, I said, for me to tackle just a regular running back or a receiver or a tight end that was a Redskin felt like getting a sack to me. Fourth quarter, game winning, every tackle. Every time I tackled a Redskin, it felt like a sack to me. They should keep I wonder if I got a stat. I should get a stat there, or it's like Redskin stat, tackle stat. So.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that. Now they were still pretty good when you played back in the day, right?
Oh yeah, and every team in the East. And man, it was it almost when back in the early 90s, it was someone from the East or the 49ers going to the Super Bowl, and then they were going to be whoever in the AFC it was, because the AFC never was a weak division or a weak, would that be conference or whatever you call it?
Division, yeah.
Yeah, division. So, Yeah. But the AFC, because I mean, it's like, I mean, look at, how many times did Buffalo show up, right? And then everybody be like, well, who the hell else did Buffalo play in their division? In their conference. It's like, I mean, name the teams back then. It was like, oh man, that's a homecoming. That's a homecoming. That's a homecoming. No wonder, you're always getting there. So the thing is that, like, you think about it, right? So, as long as you beat the people in your division, you only have like one loss. If you have one loss in your division, beat two of the top NFC teams, two of the top AFC teams that you face, dude, you have a pretty much guaranteed that your butt is going to be in the playoffs, and you're going to be in great standing. And a lot of people don't see that. Just beat these two teams outside in the AFC, these top two teams in the NFC, and then go back here and beat everybody in your daggone division. Dude, you're in, And it's just,
right.
Those are the only painful games that you have. And I think sometimes coaches do see that when you see a team kind of relaxed and play and lose to a team that they should not lose to. You know what I'm saying? Because they already know that they're – I mean, you remember, Pete. Remember how stressed out it was on a team like Green Bay that week? You could feel the different stress level. As soon as you come in, Coach Green has a red ass, and then it trickles down to everybody. So
right.
Yeah,
even the trainers and the equipment managers are motherfucking everybody.
Yeah. So check this out. Jimmy Johnson was the reason why the entire city of Dallas had the red ass or tight ass, right? So what would happen is we would go to practice. He would stress us out, right? Then we go home and stress out our kids. Our kids go to school, stress out the teacher and the other kids. They go home. So he was like this plague of stress for the entire city of Dallas. All was the origin of Jimmy Johnson.
Now, I want to ask you some questions about Jimmy Johnson. Number one, were you with the team when you guys had a preseason game in Tokyo?
Yes.
Do you care to tell the fans, number one, what Jimmy did because he did not enjoy how you guys performed in Tokyo and what happened the minute you guys got back on that flight from that game?
Is it something different than any other time that we lost, or had a bad? Dude, we would have a bad. Dude, you listen to what I'm saying. I'm talking about bad walkthrough. You know how the night, like when you go to the stadium.
Yeah.
You go to the stadium. That Occupy Time Stadium tour deal that you do practice over there. Because you got in early. Yeah. So we would go over there, and you mess up on a call over there on Saturday in walkthrough, and it was just like totally stressed out. If he could, he would cut you right then Saturday. You know what I'm saying? And bring somebody in, to play your spot. It was that kind of stress, and then specifically to remember exactly what happened then. Oh my goodness! It all melts together.
Well, first, from what I understand, there were a couple things. Number one is he had a fanny pack that he wore during that game that had $30,000 in cash in it from a good night before at the casino. But it was, I believe, 90 minutes of covering punts live. Does that ring a bell?
Oh yeah. So by the time, So the worst thing is that, you get injured and you got to come from Tokyo. Where was that? Where was it, Japan?
Yeah,
oh,
Tokyo.
So that flight is like, what?
14 hours.
Yeah, some crazy amount of hours. And you got to sit in these little bitty seats and you're hurt. So it was already, that was bad. Then you had your wives on the flight too. So that made it worse. Then we land back in Dallas and go to St. Edwards, back to camp. And I guess that was our punishment was, everybody on the team was covering kicks. Covering kicks is like, it's like why ain't he just line us up and just say we're gonna run gassers? You know what I'm saying? And the only thing about it is it's kind of like the character of everybody there. The guys that played at that time. Like if you'd have went to some other team, like I think the Giants, and tried to pull some junk like that, or many other teams, they would have been a revolt. They would have been like, I'm out of here. Bye. You know what I'm saying? I'm going home. Man, yeah. I got stuff to do, man. I ain't got time to be sitting around here. I work on Sunday. So.
Now, when you first came up to Minnesota, I remember seeing you in the playoff game the year before. What did you think of Denny and how he ran everything? Because I know it was a little different than how Jimmy Johnson did it.
Yeah. Well, I started. It was a little more, relaxed atmosphere. It was more about you are a man. You get paid to do a job. Prepare yourself to do that job. I'm not a babysitter. I'm not here to monitor you and getting you where you need to be to perform. And if you're not man enough to do that, then you got to walk. And his philosophy was just that simple. I mean, I don't think we had any strength tests, conditioning tests, or anything like that. It was be a man and get yourself ready where you need to be. I just remember looking at Chris Carter when I first got there, and Chris looking at me like, "Dude, you're gonna love this place." Because Chris came from Philadelphia.
Yeah, with Buddy Ryan.
And he was like, "Dude, we got beat up. We got this, and this," and that was the same philosophy Coach Johnson had. It was like perfect execution. It was like 100. Dude, the damn practice was 120%. And the game was like 100. Dude, we look forward to playing a game because it was easy. Compared to the damn practice. You know what I'm saying? But we started getting that feel when Coach Switzer came in because we were so beat up, and Coach Switzer, he relaxed it a little bit. I think that first year relaxed it to a point, where we didn't go to the Super Bowl again, it's a lot of stuff to think about, but but then you get to Minnesota and it was kind of like the same relaxed philosophy. I couldn't believe when we went over there, what's his name, Wessel? Was it Coach Wessel?
Yes, Coach Wessel.
Yeah. Could you imagine this and keeping in shape? And, I don't know if the fans will appreciate this or not. Going and doing 6 machines as a workout, knotless machines, 6 knotless machines, and doing 1 set on each one of the machines. I'm like, dude, you got to be kidding me. But I was like, man, this junk was so easy, man. It was like, dude, it was like you almost like to leave, you would start crying.
Right. Now, what do you think of today's players and all the rules that they have, and only one padded practice during camp, and one padded? It's unbelievable how little hitting these guys do these days.
Yeah. I think that is the origin of a problem, is because they're not conditioning themselves to be able to withstand the blows of a potential person that is actually pretty good out there.
Do you think that there's a definite difference there?
What, in these guys that are playing now?
I'm saying you talk about a different type of conditioning, and I know exactly what you're talking about because I know what Denny would always say: if you don't show up to camp in shape, then camp is punishment in and of itself.
Oh,
so you're asked to be in shape when you showed up.
Oh yeah,
but
I wasn't. Go ahead.
It's just a completely different type of conditioning when you have pads on.
Oh yeah.
Completely different.
Your body gets used to carrying this 20 pounds, and if you don't get used to carrying this 20 pounds or 30 pounds of daggone padding, you're subject to get hurt. Just by doing that, even though the padding is there to protect you, you have to get used to wearing the padding. How are you going to? How are you going to go to combat and not be used to wearing the gear? It's like, dude, you're gonna start breathing. You're gonna get tired. You're gonna be exhausted, and when you get tired, your mental sharpness goes away, and then that's how you get injured. Any injury I've ever had was because I was bullshitting in practice and wasn't concentrating. I never got hurt in the game. I got hurt in practice, but the injury, I'm telling you, the injury showed itself and revealed itself in a game. Every time I got hurt, it was a nagging injury from practice. But I don't think, and then the other thing is the equipment itself. It's like it muffles pain. Pain is in place for a reason. Why are you advancing the protection of the equipment, and pain tells you to properly do something? You know what I'm saying? You don't put when you hold the nail and you hit the hammer, don't put your damn finger on the top of the damn nail, or it's gonna bruise it. And those things are in place. So anyway.
I'm just amazed at how, these guys, their helmets come right off. They don't even wear their helmets tight anymore.
My goodness.
Swimming in their helmets.
Oh yeah, my goodness, dude. This junk is amazing. You just imagine in the conditioning shape that we were then, if we were in this type of thing, dude, we'd be playing like as long as was it Terrence Newman?
Yeah, 37.
What year is he?
He's 30. He's 37 years old.
Yeah, what I'm saying? Saying he's not bad, but I'm saying he's a very athletic dude naturally. Like I saw him play basketball, and this dude is like dunking the damn basketball like from the damn free throw kind of like dude. You know what I'm saying? And this was like maybe 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah, but I think just imagine how much longer you would have lasted in this kind of stuff, would you fall victim to the relaxed atmosphere of the practices too?
I'd fall victim, no question about it.
I got to ask this though, Pete, as I get here. Dixon, tell us the truth. You talk about anytime you got hurt, it was when you're bullshitting in practice. You weren't paying attention. What was it like for Pete? What was he like in practice?
Let me see. Pete was what they would kind of switch him all over the place. He was the utility knife of linebackers. Which week? This week I'm playing Sam. This week I'm playing this. Special teams guru. He never left the field on special teams. He got as many plays on special teams as we got, with snaps. So that was hard working. Yeah.
Hey, Dick,
somehow.
I was going to say, that's another thing, is that you guys in Dallas, you all had starters playing special teams.
Oh, yeah, that was part of the deal. Yeah, like damn near 60%, I would say like 80%. As a matter of fact, let me see, even starting linemen would still be on, defensive linemen would still be on special teams. I think the only guy that wasn't on special teams was daggone Charles Haley. Everybody else was on like the wedge, on the kickoff, and all the starters were on punt team, and then the thing is, think about it, dude. You got to run down the field as fast as hell, cover a punt, make a tackle potentially, and then go line up and play a 13-play drive. It's like, like super safe.
I have told people that the worst thing in the world that I've ever had to experience was doing exactly that, because like you said, I was a utility guy. So if someone got hurt, then I would play. But that didn't mean that you come off special teams, right? So then you got to cover a kickoff or cover a punt and then go right into a no huddle 2-minute kind of drill.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I remember sitting in Dallas, sitting in the film. We were sitting in the film, and what was it? Darren Smith. We looked at each each other in the film and said, dude, I have no idea of how I played that play. I was so tired. I mean, you have no idea how tired I was on that play. I was like, man, I'm with you. Because, like I said, we had to go down on kickoffs. Then we line up and play defense, and then we had to run down on punts. Matter of fact, my last year in Dallas, right? My last year in Dallas, I went down on every punt, right? Avelzano came to me like during the playoffs and said, Dixon, do you plan on making a tackle this year on the punt team? I went down every time, and then so the guy, the guy, how you have the guy defending you on the punt and everything, doing all this. Yeah, so the snap of the ball, the guy's like, trying to block me, doing all this other stuff going down the field. As we're running down the field, I told dude, I said, while we're running down the field during the punt, I said, dude, you ain't got to do that to me. I'm not going to make no tackles on this. I ain't got no intentions on making no tackles on punt. I got to line up and play defense. I'm having a conversation with him as we're running down the field. And I said, I told him while we were going down the field, I said, the only way I'm making a tackle is if your dude come over here. If that guy don't come over here, I am not making a tackle. Dude, I didn't make one. Go back and look at the stats. How many times Dixon Edwards made a tackle on punt my last year in Dallas? Not one.
And it was hotter than hell down there. My first NFL game was in August in Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
I remember going on that field going, oh, my God.
Yeah.
It might be 7 o'clock at night, but I am going to die.
Yeah. If you're not used to it, dude, it was so much an unfair advantage. Especially when we started playing all the teams from the East, like Washington and the Giants and Philadelphia. Dude, you come in here and you could visually see it by the middle of third quarter. Them dudes was done playing football.
Yeah. Well, we flew down the day of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't do that in the NFL. They wouldn't even allow that anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what? It just
pisses me. It just makes me mad. Now when I think about all this stuff.
Does it grind your gears?
Yes. These guys got it good. They don't even know it.
Yeah, they have no clue. Dude, if you can make it to the NFL, kids, if you can make it to the NFL, dude, that's the one thing you want to be. Just make it to the NFL and get 4 years in. Oh my goodness, dude! It's amazing.
And I remember telling people, don't ever ask a guy right after the season's over if he's going to retire, because every single dude in that locker room would say yes.
Dude, I remember some dudes talking about retiring during the middle of the season. It's like fifth game. They're like, man, I'm already done. I'm like, man, shoot. But when you talk about the stadium, right? I had never sat in the stands of the old Texas Stadium.
Okay.
And I think the fans had it worse than we had it on the field. Dude, I'm telling you, man, that daggone down there there's no air. So my son had a playoff game there, a high school playoff game, and I sat in the stands. And I just couldn't believe it. It was like they're going to start playing playoffs now, dude. And it was like maybe 60 degrees, and it felt like it was 120 in the damn stadium. I mean, the fans had it bad there.
Y'all had that hole in the roof, and then it was so high, no wind would blow through there, and then the people in that one end zone would just get burned.
Yeah.
They get cooked.
Actually, you know what they did, Pete? At one point in time, you got a little bit of circulation in there. When Jerry Jones bought the team, he actually put another set of suites up near the top. So it was the only ventilation they had, and it blocked everything out. So more money came in for the ownership, but there was no more air for the fans.
Oh, you lying? Really? Did he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. yeah. That hole in the roof is totally psychological. Because could you imagine? Yeah, I think the last game I went to in the new stadium, AT&T, they had the roof open. I guess they were trying to be cheap on the electricity or something, right? Speaking of stadiums, how is that one coming along up there in Minnesota?
U.S. Bank, it's actually pretty cool because I live south of the city, so I drive right by it every week, on our way out to TCF. And I'll say this, Dixon, when you played, just parking outside the dome and walking the 50 yards in, you were freezing your ass off in December. Yeah. Can you imagine a late January or mid-January playoff game up here and outside? How cold it is going to be.
Oh, wait. What do you mean it's outside? It's open?
Yeah, no, not the new stadium. I'm saying the one that we're in now, TCF Bank. U.S. Bank, okay. U.S. Bank Stadium's beautiful. It's going to be amazing. Okay. Yeah, but this year, if we, they get a home playoff game, it's going to be in January, and it is going to be cold as hell out there.
Okay. He always says we. He said, can you imagine what it's like when we play a playoff game? And I want you to know, I've seen Pete several times in the game. I've never seen him actually step out of the practice box. So I think it's we. He means the team, not himself. He's going to have a cup of coffee. It'll be fun.
The company I work for, we do heating systems for cold weather. So I just bring a couple of them heaters and plug them in right under the desk there and stay nice and toasty.
And probably some steel-toe boots. Hint, hint.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You gotta keep it all warm, man. It's not about pain anymore, Dix. It's not about, like it used to be. You just sit in the back of the plane and watch all those dudes cramp up flying home and just laugh at them.
Yeah. And you wanted to do this, right? All your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You dedicated your whole life for this, buddy.
Yeah. And it's just amazing to see all the mistakes that they do and that you used to do, and none of them will listen to you.
All right.
Hey, I'm telling you how the story goes, son.
Mm-hmm. And then they look at you like
you, and she's taking half your money.
Yeah, and they look at you like, "What does your old ass know?" It's like, plenty. I know plenty.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It is funny.
One of these days, they'll turn into their parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, you're right about that.
Well, you know what? I mean, you guys talked about it. And, a couple things we learned from Dixon so far is, number one, schedule Notre Dame for homecoming. We got that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he also talked about winning those games in your division. And I tell you, that's why I turn back to this game here against the Packers. Vikings are 3-0 in the division. They're winning on the road. So this is really what Dixon is telling us for. Now they have a chance to beat the Packers. You'd be 4-0 in the division. But yet everybody's talking about Aaron Rodgers right now. So there's your heir apparent to Brett Favre, and maybe even more talented than Favre was. And everybody's talking about, has he lost it? What's wrong with him? Pete, he's got 21 touchdowns. He's got 3 interceptions and a 103 rating. I mean, why are people surrounding him suddenly?
I think it's just because of the last couple of weeks. And the newest thing is that he's having problems with his girlfriend. And I don't know her name. Dixon will know. I'm sure Dixon's seen pictures of her on the internet. But they're saying that she's the one causing the problems now. You know what I mean? Wow. They're going that far into this guy in who he is, and I mean, it's like anything else. You hit a bumpy road at some point, and they've had injuries like everybody else, and they're throwing the ball too much, and teams are disrupting their timing and figuring that out. But whenever you have a guy like Rodgers at quarterback, I mean, you always have a chance. You got more of it. He makes everybody better. And so I really don't care who you line up at wide receiver. He's going to hit him. But I was shocked at that Detroit game. I thought that they, after 2 hard games on the road, Carolina, the whole thing, that they would come home and just beat the living tar out of Detroit, a team that has nothing to play for. Half the coaching staff's already been fired. It's not even the end of the season. And they went out there and laid an egg. I mean, that's embarrassing. So if these guys have any pride about them, you're going to see a little bit different team, I think, on Sunday than you did last Sunday.
And I'll tell you, it's interesting. You talk about, sometimes it's the off-field problems that change of focus and they cause problems for a while. And I wanted to ask you this, Dixon. Obviously, you're living in Dallas, and they got Greg Hardy there. And obviously, lots of talk about his off-field problems, his anger issues, really. And I'm curious, if we turned you into a GM all of a sudden, would you re-sign a Greg Hardy for 2016, or is he too much of a distraction for the team?
If anything, to me, it would seem that is trying to keep in good graces with the fans. If the fans are mutinying, rising against him, then yeah, maybe. But the thing that it matters to me is as long as you are daggone, winning and you're supporting the team and you're doing your job, why would you bring that up? And then you think about it, it's like you bring something like that up is what could bringing something like that up harm him? How could that harm him in anything that he has to do or anything that's coming close to him? So, and you get to thinking about that. It's like, contract year.
Yeah, you do, Dixon. I think you're touching on kind of a deeper point in that, outside of a few guys that I know, maybe like John Randall, there's very few guys that can just turn it off when they leave the locker room or turn it off when they leave the field. And as ownership, what'll make you laugh will make you cry. I mean, you got a guy who's everything you want on the field. He's a lunatic. He's aggressive. He's all that. And then you're just nervous as soon as the guy leaves the facility because if someone rolls up next to him and says something to him or cuts him off on the highway, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to put him to that level of a person. I've never met him or had a conversation with him, and I've never walked in his shoes. The thing is that the only reason why we're talking about him and any exploit that he might have off the field is because he's a good player on the field. And that's the one thing that you have to focus on. And as a general manager, I would try to sign as many people to help get me or get the team where it needs to be. And then it's the responsibility of the head coach to be able to understand the personalities of the different players to be able to get them to be cohesive.
You've got so many different personalities in that down there in Dallas. I mean, that's tough to do. When the GM is the one,
but see, I think I always put all the weight on the head coach. I think it's the head coach's responsibility to get the players of the tools that he needs, not the general manager. I think general manager just makes the numbers work. If I need this, general manager, get me this. This is what I need.
Right.
And then how many, it's like if you're the boss, you would like to interview the people that are working for you. You like to know the people and the mentality because certain things motivate different people. I've seen people where if you give them a reward, meaning a plaque, their game goes to shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then the people that don't ever get a plaque, or if they're used to getting plaques and then they don't get a plaque, then their game goes to shit. So you see what motivates individuals. Learn the person and what motivates them, and be able to make that motivation successful for the team. And then being able to get like kind. It's not opposites attract. It's like kind attract. The reason why they hanging out, you hanging with this person is because that person does stuff that you like doing too. So you need to get a group of people that are like kind of personalities and be able to understand what motivates them. And I think all that lies on the head coach's position, not necessarily because the head coach is the one that has to make all these people work. He gives the responsibility to the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. Now make this work, the chain of command. But I think, in my opinion, is that it's the head coach's responsibility and getting the tools that he needs to be able to fulfill his system to the best of its ability.
When you look at that, Dixon, you talked one thing earlier. Pretty funny that some guys, in the middle of the season, they're thinking of retiring. But by the end of the season, they definitely want to retire. I'm curious about your perspective of guys like Wes Welker, who's come back again after a lot of different concussions, or even a Peyton Manning, who apparently is struggling with so many injuries. He's just considering whether or not he should come back. At what point in time, Pete's always talked about you play this game as long as you can. But when you look at it from that perspective, if you still can play, at what point do the injuries start to come and you say, you know what, I'm not going to risk future lifetime because of this game?
Yeah, well, I think it gets to a point where, you have been successful and you have this, and have accumulated enough to be able to, the goal of you accumulating all this, wealth is so that you can use it in a different life, the life after. And after football. So it's you want to be able to enjoy it. So it gets to a point where you decide, okay, well, I've had enough. I've done everything that I can do. This is the most is going to happen. I want to be able to take this, whatever I have, and be able to enjoy life with the people that it counts the most, and that's your family. So, that's, and some people don't, get that, at certain levels, and some people do. What is truly is most important to you, and then deciding that, or get to the point where they decide that this is not my life, that other stuff is my life.
Yeah, so really what we're saying here, Pete, when you look at it, he had the foresight to realize I got to get out of this game while I got my health. Otherwise, I don't get the Ford Taurus, I don't get the Link system. So he was thinking ahead.
Who's he? I don't know who he's kidding. He got his ass run out of the league just like everybody else.
Who's that?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I quit. Go look back. I quit.
No, I know.
Yeah, I quit.
Hey,
I could have went out there. I could have went out there the year after that. I could have went out there. Matter of fact, 2 years after that, I could have still went out there because people were still inquiring about me. But
now, Tom, hold on. Now, I will say this: if Dixon did go back out there, he would have gone back out there with the same old pair of shoes that he wore from when he was in college. And these things. Everybody on the team, knew about it. When they talked about Dixon, it was the shoes.
Yeah, my raggedy shoes.
Oh my God! I'd go through a pair of shoes in 2 weeks. And Dixon, you had yours for how long did you wear those shoes?
From the time I stepped on the field in Dallas. From the time, the equipment guys love me because I don't ask for nothing. I keep the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they go, Dixon, we need to change your stuff. I guess I would have to say that was my my faith and belief system as it related to me playing the sport. That's what gave me strength. I'm going to be consistent because this is consistent in my life, in my game. So that's where I drew my strength from things like that. When you look at it, you put them on, you lace them up. And you'd be like, okay, well, this is my strength. I played well last week with this. This week I'm gonna play well too because this is my strength. This is my thing. Just like Johnny before the game, putting his his Batman face on, and going out there doing warm-ups. Dude, this dude will warm up so daggone much. It's like, where do you have the energy left to play a game? He was full. Yeah, he's like. He needs to change out his jersey. It's all sweated out and everything. I'm like, dude, I'll run down the field, run back, and I'm ready to play. And I'm like, I couldn't believe it. But anyway,
that's another thing that you bring up that I don't know if people realize or not, but you do play. If you don't go to the playoffs, you're still playing 20, maybe 21 games. If you go to the playoffs, you might be playing 22 games. There's gonna be a game where you walk in that locker room 2 hours before kickoff, and you just don't feel like playing. You just don't feel good, and you gotta find a way to fight your way through that.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever experienced that. Pete.
Yeah,
Sorry.
come on now. Hey.
I have never stepped on a
Tom.
football field and been like, I don't want to play. I've been on a football field and said I don't want to get wet, but I ain't never stepped on the field. Yeah, every time we go play, we play Philadelphia. It's always wet. So man, you know, I remember playing. I got 7 tackles against Philadelphia and never touched the ground because I wasn't gonna get wet.
Now, Tom, he's BSing you because I remember one game. Sitting in my locker, getting ready to go, and then Dixon came in, sat down, and looked at me, and he goes, "Man, I just don't feel like playing today." And it just took all the wind out of my sails, man. For hours, it just felt like a toilet just flushed. I was like, you know what? Neither do I. But don't tell me about it.
Hold on, I think that you're confusing me with Brady Backstab.
Oh no, yeah, maybe.
It may be. It might have happened one time, maybe once.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you both a question as we look to close out tonight, both on your expertise. I'm going to start with you, Dixon. I'm going to ask you about the Cowboys, and what I'm going to ask you about is obviously you got Tony Romo finally returning from injury. And my question to you is he got the ability at this point with a 2-7 Cowboy team? Does he have the ability to jumpstart that team and really salvage a playoff season, or is the hole simply too deep at this point in Dallas?
I don't think that the hole is too deep. His performance is his performance. I think his performance is really is dictated based on the performances of the people around him, and one being Dez Bryant. You have to have a healthy Dez Bryant, which is the number 1 receiver, in order for that entire offense to mechanically work. It doesn't work without Dez Bryant. It's not the quarterback. It has to be a healthy Dez Bryant. And then their offense is kind of like role players, you know. So if the number 1 receiver is doing his job, the number 2 is doing his job, Beasley's doing his, and Witten's doing his, then it efficiently works, and then now it loosens up for the run. I don't think that there, you know, are great, you know, super great players on that team. It's more role players other than Dez Bryant and Beasley, you know, and I think everybody else is a role player.
It sounds like he believes that it's possible for a Romo to go, 7-1 maybe?
Yeah, well,
be tough.
You've got, it is. But the other thing that they do have going for them is what I think is the worst division in the NFC. I mean, I've seen the Philadelphia Eagles play the Giants. I mean, we won't even bring Dixon's favorite team, Washington, into the conversation.
Yeah.
But there's not a whole lot of competition. And, I mean, if they can get I don't know how many divisional games they have left, but that NFC East, it's still wide open. I mean, you look at Indianapolis in the AFC South. They're leading that division, and they're a mess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you never know. I mean, if you just never know if they get good in the league nowadays. I mean, when I played, the teams that won, they got the bye. They usually won that second or their first playoff game, the second playoff game in the season. Nowadays, you've got number 6 seeds winning on the road all the way to the Super Bowl. So it's even more important now to play your best football going into January. And, you know, I'd be interested to see. The thing that they can't do is press. The thing they can't do is try to make too much happen. And if they do that, then, you know, obviously it'll probably end up going the other way. But the NFC East, I just don't see a lot of strength coming out of that division this year. I think it's the NFC West and then the NFC North are the 2 divisions that really stand out. And obviously you got Carolina in the South, but we'll see how they do. Seems like they have a lot of their big games at home, so we'll see how they do on the road.
Well, you talk about the NFC North, and that's your question, Pete, is the Vikings go back home to TCF Bank to really, you know, go against a reeling Green Bay Packer team. How do you see this one coming out, and what are your thoughts about the Vikings having a chance to knock off the Packers and take that 2+ game lead in the NFC North?
You've got it. You have to win this one. I mean, you have Atlanta, you have Seattle, and then you have Arizona, and Atlanta and Arizona is on the road. I mean, you can build yourself some wiggle room with a victory against Green Bay, and if Green Bay continues to slide, now you've got more wiggle room throughout the entire division. So if they win on Sunday, which I think they will, it's the timing and everything's just right. But if they win, it's a completely different end of the season than if they lose. Because if they lose, they walk off the field in second place. With you still have those 3 games coming. So it changes everything. And this like I said, these kind of games that go from you lose, you're in second place. You win, you have a 3-game lead. And the last game of the year is in Lambeau against Green Bay. And if you take care of business now, that game in January may not mean anything. And that's a luxury. Not having to beat the Packers in Lambeau later in the season is a luxury that they can earn if they go out there and win. So my point, in the regular season, you're not going to see more motivation than what the Vikings should be seeing right now. This team should be more motivated than any other team in the league this Sunday, and we'll see if that translates into a victory. I think it will, but we'll see.
Well, I'll tell you what, I lied. I said this is the last question. Viking fans, as you know, Pete, are absolutely going to kill me if I don't ask this question. It's got to go to Dixon Edwards, and here's what it is. Dixon, you played on championship teams in Dallas. You were one step away from the Super Bowl in 1998 with the Viking team. How good was that Viking team in '98 compared to those Cowboy Super Bowl teams?
Wow, that's a pretty good question. I am under the opinion that I think the Cowboys teams were stronger teams than the Minnesota teams. I am. As a matter of fact, I always tell people the one team that I would put up against any team in football history would be the '94 Dallas Cowboy team when we lost to San Francisco, because I felt that was the best team ever, because everybody was there. It was just really, really strong. But I would put the 1994 Dallas football team against any Minnesota, the Minnesota team. Not saying it was not a good team, but I don't think it would have compared to the Dallas teams. It was a different chemistry that in Minnesota you didn't feel that you were going to win the game. In Dallas, you felt like you were going to win the game. It was kind of like a Mustang Cobra, which is a fast car, straight line.
Is it really? I never heard of it. Never heard of that Mustang.
Yeah, so it's like that. It's a fast car, a powerful car, or even like a Hellcat or something like that. It's a hard, fast car and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, you put it up against a daggone Lamborghini, it's a different deal. It's a different car. It's 2 different cars. Even though both of them have a lot of horsepower and they're both fast, but I hope that example makes sense to people. But
Pete, let me net it out for you. What he's really saying is if he arrives in Minnesota again, he now needs bodyguard protection because he's basically said Cowboys over Vikings. Is that what you heard?
Well, yeah, pretty much. And then I also got to hear about every damn car in his garage. But you know what though? I will say this. Those teams, those Dallas teams, you talk about a complete team, and by that I mean if you can't defend the run, Emmitt Smith's a complete nightmare. Larry Allen and those guys, I mean, they were a nightmare. If you could stop the run, couldn't stop the pass, well then Aikman and the boys would, Irvin and them, they could do you in. And then defensively, you guys, you didn't mess around. I mean, you guys had people that could hit.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It's kind of like the most complete team I've seen. I mean, in '98 we were a little lopsided. We had so much talent on offense And I keep telling people up here that the teams that make run in the playoffs, you got to be in the top half, top 10 in the league in all categories.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need all three categories at some point in the playoff run. And Dallas, back in those times, man, you guys had a very, very, very complete team. You'd find some teams that could maybe throw the ball better, not throw and run the ball better.
Yeah,
you know
and I just, like I said, if the '98 team was really comparable to a Dallas team, then why didn't the next year or the year after that did they get to the same position? They didn't get to the same position. Majority of the guys stayed there, but there were key players. It's just it wasn't as powerful the next year. I don't know what the record was that following year. And, the record changes because you play the harder opponents the next year because of your record. But, you just think about it in Dallas. I mean, we win the Super Bowl, you're guaranteed the hardest record, the hardest schedule. You're guaranteed, and you have to every year in, year out, and then, I remember ragging Leroy Horde about this, and I mean, like, daggone Cleveland came in and beat us, and
right.
Yeah, and in Dallas, but I ragged Leroy about it, but the reason why they beat us is because we didn't practice for them.
Well, think about this, Pete. I want you to know how carefully he did a really nice job with it. He said, 99, what was the record? What changed? The only really real player that changed in '99 was Dixon wasn't here anymore. So I think what the catalyst for all the Cowboy wins and the Viking '98 season was Dixon Edwards. I think we got to the end of it.
Okay, so you say what you want. You're making a joke of it though, right? So go back. So go back and look at why we lost the championship game in San Francisco. Go back and ask people like coaches and all that kind of stuff why we lost in Dallas and San Francisco. Go back and ask them, And then, another thing, too, is go to the 98 season in review for the Minnesota Vikings, and I wasn't even on the team.
Yeah. You know what, though, Dixon? It's interesting you say that, though, because I don't know if any of those Dallas teams, like we did in 2000, make it to the NFC Championship game and then lose 41-0. You know what I mean? I mean that I don't know if that would have happened down there.
Did you lose 41-0?
Yeah, I mean I don't remember the game because I knocked myself out in the opening kickoff, but
Yeah.
And see, Dixon, see what he did? He basically said the reason for the 41-0 because he didn't play in that game.
Because he didn't play?
He evened it out.
Did you see that was embedded in that comment?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, with that, guys, that brings us to the end of this week's edition of Pete Bercich's Viking Mail Call. And we want to thank our special guest, Dixon Edwards, for joining us tonight. Pete, I don't know if you had any parting shots you want to give Dixon.
No, I'd love to do this every week with him. I mean, this is football is our thing, and I'll tell you this, I'm thankful when I look back, because when it's all said and done, you really play the game to earn the respect of those you play with and against, because the money comes, the money goes, all those other things kind of come and go, but that respect, if you have it, is always there. And I'll say this, that everybody that I know that played with or against Dixon completely respected him. The man can knock your eyeballs cross if he wanted to. He could hit. I mean, when people ask me who hit the hardest that you've seen, and I would absolutely say Dixon Edwards. I mean, it's you hell of a player and just a great teammate, and obviously listening to him. A great guy too. So these are the kinds of guys that we had, and this is the reason why we had such success in the 90s with the Vikings.
Okay, Pete. The check is in the mail. I already sent it.
Okay. Sorry about that.
We absolutely will invite Dixon back to talk about it again. I want to remind all the fans to check out all of Pete's interviews on
I don't know, Tom.
PTFootball.com.
Maybe that wouldn't be a good idea to have him back on. I don't know. We got to talk about that.
It depends.
Have you had Professor Doctor on yet?
Yeah, we had him on with Leroy.
Oh, did you? Oh, no, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Robert.
Oh, that's cool.
Listen to this. Leroy, listen to this, and you'll love this. But in the interview, Robert dropped his phone, dropped the call, picked it up, dialed, put the passcode in, and Leroy was still answering the question.
So you heard the digits, so you can go in there and get the tones and figure out what his password is.
Well, I mean, it was just like, he was off for like 5 minutes, and Leroy was still answering the damn question. Leroy could talk now.
Oh my goodness! Yes. Oh, okay, that was cool.
Well, with that, like I said, I think we've actually coaxed out the shyness in Dixon this week. We absolutely will invite him back, Pete. And next week, remember, our guests are going to be Jim Marshall, Carl Eller, and Bob Lurtz. I'm going to talk defense in the Vikings. So until then, for Pete Bercich, I'm Tom Moore. So long, everyone.